Hi, it's Etharal here, and today we are back with our Crusader Kings 2 Warhammer mod, where we have been playing as the Scinstair family of Tauben, the Dukes of Tauben, who have now catapulted themselves to the throne of all of Middenland through a very intelligent marriage by our father to the celibate former emperor, who we helped to put in power with the support of the eastern most powerful duke. We're actually the western most powerful. So now we are playing, having skipped ahead many years, to Baldwin Scinstair, the ruler of Tauben. He did stay as the heir, and also as well as has become the whole Emperor of Middenland. So very quickly catapulted ourselves into pretty much stardom there, and onto the really big stage as being an independent lord rather than being a vassal of somebody, and having plenty of vassals ourselves that we can command as needed. Here we are just going through and passing out all the former duchies that we did have, as having duchies was our highest title, so there wasn't any negative things for having most of your highest title. However, now because we are an emperor, there is a negative modifier to having too many of them, so we are needing to hand them out, with the hopes that this will get our actual guys into a little bit of a better state. They'll be happier with us, and therefore will be less prone to factions and revolts, which now is going to be the main focus of any potential internal issues. Is going to be factions of people who are not happy with us and are demanding that they want to make change, and basically putting together a petition of various other lords who feel the same way. So our main focus is going to be, first of all, trying to get it to the point where we are able to hold on to everything, and that they are in the lords are in happy enough state with us so that they're not going to be actually wanting to attack us. Here we are in a pretty good situation as well. You can see that our son is also as well the potential heir to Reichland. The King of Reichland, or Emperor of Reichland, is a guy who is less than, shall we say, hinged. He is an interesting guy who currently only has one daughter who we are married to, who has given us our son, who is unfortunately not the best person in the world, though he is pretty weak and not the smartest or anything like that, so he is not brilliant. Hopefully we will be able to bring him into the fold, and through attributes and, diligent and various skills and abilities and like that, he will hopefully become better. There you can see at the minute there are no factions. However, I believe that will likely change the longer that we are in power and the less happy these people are with us. We need to try and get as many of these guys as happy as possible. The way we're going to aim to do that is by taking our sons and cousins and uncles and very close Scinstair family and marrying them to our various dukes, and basically bringing the Scinstair family into all of the noble families, so that way there are close blood ties, which should help give us a nice bonus to others' opinions of us, therefore make them less likely to want to revolt against us. That is our main focus, which we are going to do in the internal politics. The reason being for that, our previous one of moving the Chancellor around to improve diplomatic relations. At the minute we are very fragmented. There is a lot of dukes, and we basically wouldn't be able to have him dotting around enough to be able to use that to any real effect anymore, which is less than ideal, but is something we can still deal with. We are still certainly going to use him and send him out. He is currently, however, trying to fabricate claims from the AI, deciding that that is what they wanted him to do. So for the minute we are mainly going to just have to deal with that one, and then as soon as we are able to move him, we're going to move him out of the way, start getting him to improve relations with various dukes in the Middenland so that they are less likely to revolt. This guy being a prime example, a guy who is less than a fan of us and is somebody who is not going to be in any way, shape or form happy with our rule, as he was actually originally our father's lord and was not the last one, but the one before that. He was the Emperor of Middenland, who we'd managed to take off the throne, and so he is somebody who is probably wanting to claim that back, so we need to make sure that he does not get that claim to the throne and manage to get any traction with that one before he dies, and then the Todbridge family will start to descend into obscurity and they won't be as much of a threat, which is going to remove one internal threat at the very least. Now, in terms of external threats, however, as you can see in the bottom right, there are currently 3 wars going on that we have been brought into. We've for all of them been brought in as an ally, so they are not any wars that we have directly started and that we are going to personally benefit from. And the first thing that Baldwin is deciding to do is he is going to look at which ones of these does he want to commit his forces to. Does decide very quickly that the two which we are losing most, they are ones we are not going to get involved with. We are there as lip service allies, and that is it. We've said that we may send some forces, and we do support him in this war, as it is actually the King of Bretonnia, who is too far away from us at the very minute to be somebody that we need to really consider about. At the minute, we need to be more focused on the Empire politics rather than the wider world. So those two are something that he is taking a lot of damage from. I mean, the Orc one on the far right that you can see the war that's minus 20%, he is actually now, that war boss is ruling half of Bretonnia, so he is somebody who is becoming increasingly powerful, and it's a good chance that Bretonnia and the humans in the west, well, southwest to us, are going to actually lose all of their lands to the Orcs, which is potentially going to be something which will be bad for us in the long run, but for the minute is something we can't actually really do anything about. The main ones we need to focus on is making sure that, there we go, we are now down to 3 wars actually. Those wars we need to do something about, as those are revolts that were happening in the Empire, so we need to resolve first before anything else. And we have decided to get a Griffin mount. Our guy, not brilliant, but still quite young, and so if he ever does have to go to war, giving him a Griffin mount which will allow him to get some extra personal combat is going to be a way to go. There we go. You can see now that the actual 2 wars that were taking place in the Empire have now been resolved, that we were part of, so that is a good situation for us to find ourselves in. That makes internal politics in the Empire slightly easier, and we can now focus more on the internal politics inside of Middenland, which is something that is probably going to be, out of anything, will be our undoing. This is going to be a very, very delicate time for Baldwin. He is having to make sure that he is balancing everything and still bringing more land into Middenland and proving that Middenland is going to be a force to be reckoned with, which the Todbridge family have done a fair way of ensuring that Middenland survives, managed to keep it and actually expand it a little bit. We want to expand it, however, far more. Our son has the potential to be able to double the Middenland with, bringing the throne of Reichland into the fold as well. That is going to cause a massive influx of potential forces and also as well potential issues along the line as well. Not sure how that one's going to go. It could go well, it could go bad. The main one for that one is going to be that those people are not going to be too happy with us, as they are not Ulfric worshippers, they are Sigmarites, so they're already going to be of a minus for us for not liking our religion. We will have to try and convert them. That is something we will deal with though in the long run. Well, not in the long run ourselves, Baldwin won't, however his son, I believe Peter it is, who will be having to deal with all that, although he is not exactly the best guy in the world, so he might struggle a little bit and not be really the best and most effective ruler and somebody who's going to inspire a lot of confidence. But we will deal with that in the decades when it does come to it. And here you see here, Peter here is the Prince of Imperial Middenland and the heir to Middenland and the second in line to Reichland. So a very good guy there. However, there is something, like I said, that is a long way down the road. That is something very much just thinking in the next major goal for ourselves, which is going to be to aim to try and unify the whole of the Empire and finally bring all the Empire under one controlled banner, which will then be able to really throw our weight around. We will then be pretty much the largest empire in the actual whole of the old world and probably in the new one as well. Not including obviously Nagothrond and on Nagorond, I can never remember which one, the Dark Elves, and what that exact name is. So we'll see how those go, obviously, at a later date. Here you can see I'm just going through looking at all my dukes, trying to see how they are feeling about me. They're not hating me, that's at least something, but, well, most of them aren't hating me, although there are a few that really, really do hate me. I have also seen as well earlier on, which you will have likely noticed, is that there are now 2 factions. The guy that I mentioned earlier on, the Todbridge guy, is trying a faction to try and usurp the throne and claim that he is the rightful ruler of the Imperial Middenland. Thankfully, he hasn't managed to get any support. We did oust him ourselves and the other main duke, so nobody probably wants to really support him. They are glad that he is gone. He was not a great person. And the other one, however, this other guy who is wanting to supplant my control and put somebody else on the throne of Middenland, though that is something that is going to be an issue and something we're going to need to follow slightly closer, as that other person is somebody I don't know about and could potentially be a threat. Though that, again, is something that, fingers crossed, won't actually happen, and we will be able to be strong enough to control it. Here we are mainly relying on the fact that we have a larger force than him, so he will not be wanting to try and declare a civil war just yet, as we would be able to usurp his power and crush him likely quite easily. If he was to try and offer that now and we turned it down, we could declare a civil war on him, and then that wouldn't go very well. Here, however, though, we are going to try, the one thing we are going to try and do, Baldwin thinks of, is to try and use external politics as a way of distracting people. So here you can see the Imperial Reconquest. We can actually get a claim on any duchy, on anybody in the Empire, to try and unify all of the Empire. Very, very nice touch to the game of trying to be able to unify all the Empire. Makes things a lot easier to do it by war. And so here you can see, just going to sort of cycle through these, and you can see the different ones that you can choose from. You can basically choose from any sort of independent ruler in the whole of the Empire. You can do the right of Imperial Reconquest. So here we've got a fair few allies. They can't currently join any wars that we have, because the wars that we are currently part of are all where we are allies, so we can't really bring them in. This guy, however, does have a guy that he can bring in. Learning from my mistakes that I've made with the elves, I do make sure to check allies forces as well. They have a total of around about 6,000-7,000, which we have by ourselves, so we should be able to, bring them in. This guy here, we are going to actually send some gifts just to make sure that they really do like us and they are willing to accept to come into this war. And then we are going to unify all of our forces. We're going to try and take some of Ostland, which we have already started to move into. I believe it was the Todbridge Empires who began to move east, and then hopefully, with any luck, we should be able to continue that and use it as a way for our hopeful vassals to be a little bit distracted. There is an external enemy to be facing as a unified front, rather than everybody trying to focus on us as a singular front. Sorry, not a singular front. It makes us into a singular front rather than trying to split us and potentially falling apart due to internal conflicts. Not sure how it's going to go, but we will certainly test it and we will see. With any luck, it might at least allow a little bit of distraction for us to be able to solidify our position and increase our years of rule, which is a negative that we are getting at the minute of a short rule. We are basically an unproven emperor who is somebody who will not inspire much confidence. If you can survive past that phase and you start to get long rule, though, then things start to look a lot better. You can see that we have unified all of our forces here. There is 6,000 guys that we have managed to bring to bear, and very, very quickly those guys who were trying to raid us just go, nope, that is not going to happen. We are not going to try and fight them. So that is fine by us. If they want to get out, then I'm okay with that. Here you can see that Ostland, as we did predict, have brought in their ally, which is perfectly fine. We fully expected that. We took that into account, and Baldwin believed that their forces, plus even just against our forces, we would still be able to come out on top, and thankfully our forces have actually managed to bring in some allies as well, which is again just really sort of solidified that. So we could probably, if we did want to, as our allies here do seem to be intent on actually helping us out in this war, having sent in a fair number of men, we could probably leave them to deal with it by themselves, but we are not going to take the risk for that. Instead, we are going to choose to basically attack these people as quickly as possible. Here, what I was doing there, I was looking, there's a guy who came to us and basically said, I think I would be a better chancellor. However, when looking at him, that guy was only a courtier. The other guy is an actual lord. He has actual land. He is somebody who, if he doesn't like us, that is going to be a problem. So we are not going to take that chance of kicking him out of office. We are going to just let that guy stay in office, and then, you know what, he'll be at least not getting annoyed that there's any issues. So not going to do that. It will mean we'll have a slight reduction to our potential abilities of our Chancellor, but that is a risk we're going to have to take. Here you can see we've now smashed through into Ostland very successfully, and we are now at an 83% war score. We've done a lot of damage to them. We've managed to take one of the whole lands and take another one slightly. We are now trying to actually get this done as quickly as possible, as we are losing forces in this, and if we are losing forces, what that is going to mean is that the potential factions are getting stronger when compared to us, which is not a situation we want to find ourselves in. So we are going to try and get this war out of the way as quickly as possible to be able to start building up our future forces and rebuilding them, so that way it's going to hopefully deter those actual factions from actually trying anything in Middenland, which should go pretty well here. The war does go very well, and so there is something that Baldwin at least can say that he has done. He has managed to expand the lands of Middenland quite considerably there, managed to bring in 4 counties, so at the very least he is not going to be somebody who's going to be forgotten by the histories of the old world or anything like that at all, which is at least something. So we're going to leave it there for today, and there with Baldwin now mentioning that, you know, past a little bit of time, he's not been usurped straight away and completely lost the throne and completely failed, so hopefully he should be able to continue to build on this success, and who knows, even be able to reach to old age and be able to pass his throne on to his son Peter, our third Peter, very, very potentially a good guy who will be able to do even more again. So thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed. Do be sure to subscribe here at eGen, and I shall see you next time.